largely this industry has been stuck in a proof of concept mode for the past decade, at least when you talk about a lot of the commercial opportunities. But because of the success that we had in Dubai, we're now seeing a second city adopt this technology with Abu Dhabi. We already have plans to deploy across both cities entirely. Roughly 50 systems is estimated to cover both Abu Dhabi and Dubai, and that will be rolled out over the next 2 to 3 years.
You're listening to the Drone Radio Show podcast, the show about drones and the people who use them for business, fun, and research. Hosted by Randy Goers.
Hello, everyone. This is Randy Goers, and welcome to the Drone Radio Show podcast, episode 392. Can autonomous drones be deployed in urban areas? For that question, we head to Waltham, Massachusetts, to speak with Reese Mozer, president of Ondas Holdings and CEO and co-founder of American Robotics. Ondas Holdings is a leading provider of private wireless data and commercial drone solutions. The wireless data solutions are provided via Ondas Networks. The commercial drone solutions are provided through American Robotics and newly acquired Airobotics. Together, American Robotics and Airobotics design, develop, and market autonomous commercial drone solutions worldwide. Their Scout system and Optimus system are highly automated, AI-powered drone systems capable of continuous remote operation. American Robotics has also led with regulatory successes, becoming the first company approved by the FAA to operate automated drones without humans on site. Shortly after being acquired, Airobotics announced a $3.5 million purchase order and joint venture with SkyGo, a UAE-based company that has a commercial license to provide unmanned aerial transport of goods and services across the city of Abu Dhabi. With this partnership in place, the companies will move forward in launching a first-of-its-kind deployment of urban drone infrastructure throughout Abu Dhabi. The project will serve as the autonomous UAS model for the rest of the world, especially in major cities. Reese is an accomplished entrepreneur, executive, and technologist, with over 12 years of experience in the drone, robotics, and private equity sectors. He also serves as a board member of the Commercial Drone Alliance. Reese has been featured in the Wall Street Journal, Boston Globe, Business Insider, TechCrunch, Gizmodo, VentureBeat, and CNBC, among other national publications. He holds a master's in robotic systems development from Carnegie Mellon University and a BS in mechanical engineering and entrepreneurship from the University of Southern California. In this episode of the Drone Radio Show, Reese talks about American Robotics and Airobotics autonomous drone solutions, the Urban Drone Infrastructure Project for Abu Dhabi, and what we can expect to see in the way of global adoption of autonomous drone solutions. But before we hear from Reese, I want to thank those of you who have been supporting my funding campaign. Whether it's $1, $100, or much more, you can help defray the costs of production and keep the podcast going and growing. Go to droneradioshow.com/donate. And by the way, if you have a great story on the use of drones that you'd like to share in a podcast, contact me at randy@droneradioshow.com. Now let's learn about Abu Dhabi's drone infrastructure project with Reese Mozer of Ondas Holdings and American Robotics. Let's pick up the interview where I asked Reese to introduce himself.
My name is Reese Mozer. I'm the president of Ondas Holdings, as well as the CEO and co-founder of American Robotics.
Reese, let's start with Ondas Holdings. What does the company do?
Ondas Holdings is a NASDAQ-listed company, and our vision is to digitize industrial operations. So, we look at the world that has millions of critical assets, from railroads to oil and gas pumps to cities, that all need to be monitored and inspected and protected on a daily basis. And the only way to improve efficiencies at this point is to bring these markets into the digital era. And so we accomplish this through a portfolio of advanced products, including autonomous drones, wireless networks, and AI. Ondas Holdings is currently divided into two divisions: Ondas Autonomous Systems, which is where American Robotics sits, and Ondas Networks.
Wasn't American Robotics a separate company at one time?
It was, yeah. I founded the company in 2016 along with two co-founders, and in August of 2021, we were acquired by Ondas. So we are now a wholly owned subsidiary of Ondas Holdings, working together with the other portfolio companies.
Tell us more about the role of American Robotics. How did the company get started?
So at American Robotics, we started the company because we saw some pretty significant issues in the commercial drone market. You know, the way we look at the drone world at the highest level divided into three categories. You've got consumer drones, which have had a lot of success, obviously, with companies like DJI, and you've got military drones on the other end of the spectrum, you know, Northrop Grumman, et cetera. But in the middle, which we think is actually the largest opportunity from a market size perspective, is still, you know, we're still barely scratching the surface. And the short answer why is that if you want to use a drone for all these business purposes, for the vast majority of them, you really need true autonomy for those to be practical and economical. So that's what we set out to do back in 2016 when we founded the company. And so we designed the Scout system. The Scout system is a fully automated drone in a box, if you've heard that term. Essentially two robots that work together to create a completely automated experience for a customer. So there's no more piloting, you know, there's no more visual observers. Everything is automated from charging to mission planning, precision landing, flight itself, image capture, data transfer. And now all the customer has to worry about is what the drone's doing, which is collecting and analyzing data. And so this changes the economics of using a drone. It changes the dynamic of how customers interact with drones. It changes the business model. And one last point on American Robotics. None of this matters if you can't get it approved by the FAA or another regulatory body. And in 2021, American Robotics became the first company approved by the FAA to operate in a fully autonomous manner. No visual observers on the ground at any point before, during, or after flight. So that was, you know, one of the most important inflection points in the life of American Robotics. And now we're part of Ondas Holdings and doing even more beyond that.
What does American Robotics bring to Ondas Holdings?
You know, we really focus on creating this full stack product. We didn't want to develop just a piece of the solution because when we talk to industrial customers, they really want an end-to-end product. And so over, you know, a course of 6 years, we developed a very large portfolio of IP and technology that's unique to our system. So everything from hardware to software, you know, the operations and the regulatory strategy around how you operate these things was created by us.
Now, recently, American Robotics acquired Airobotics, another leading autonomous drone solutions provider. Tell us about the acquisition.
The acquisition actually just formally closed in January, but started earlier in 2022. And this acquisition brings together the two leading industrial drone-in-a-box companies, American Robotics and Airobotics. And the synergies with this merger actually exceeded our own expectations. You know, instead of fighting for customers, we're now sharing the best technologies, sharing customer pipelines. We're reducing our expenses and increasing our revenues as a result. So, you know, that integration's happening right now. We're taking some of what we learned from Scout and some of what we learned from Optimus and delivering what we think is the most advanced product on the market. And one of the best examples of that is the recent news in Abu Dhabi. Actually, before that was Dubai. We became the first company to deploy autonomous drone systems commercially in a city. So this was a very historic event.
What are the operational parameters of the service?
The concept is called urban drone infrastructure. And really, there's a long list of applications that these systems can do. I think it's important to note first that the Optimus system, you know, for those who haven't checked it out, I recommend you do. we can confidently say this is the most advanced autonomous drone-in-a-box product on the market. It is designed for rugged industrial environments, but beyond that, it has several unique features which really put it into a class of its own. So within the docking station, it has a robotic arm that can swap up to 12 batteries and up to 9 different payloads, which means our Optimus system can function in a near continuous manner and can conduct wide range of use cases because of all the different payloads that we can carry. So, we project a long list of use cases within these city environments. What we're seeing that customers are focusing on first is primarily around public safety and emergency response. So responding to car accidents or a medical emergency, the Optimus system is capable of carrying small packages. So think about delivering, an EpiPen to somebody who's having an allergic reaction, or, responding to some sort of event that public safety officials need to keep track of.
In Abu Dhabi, Airobotics is partnering with a company called SkyGo. Correct me if I'm wrong. SkyGo is a drone service company that primarily does business in the Middle East.
Yes, that's correct. So our Optimus systems are deployed in 2 different cities currently. The first is Dubai, which is more of a direct sale to a government agency there. And the second one is Abu Dhabi, which is a slightly different business model. And so that's that partnership with SkyGo. SkyGo is a drone service provider based in the UAE, operates in the Middle East. And so this is a joint venture, a partnership to essentially distribute and operate our Optimus systems throughout Abu Dhabi with the help of SkyGo.
Has the project already begun?
Yes, we have a number of systems installed already in Dubai, and the ones in Abu Dhabi are being installed as we speak.
Is the objective to put something into operation, or are you still developing a proof of concept?
This is beyond proof of concept. I think that's an important thing to note is largely this industry has been stuck in a proof of concept mode for the past decade, at least when you talk about a lot of the commercial opportunities. But because of the success that we had in Dubai, we're now seeing a second city adopt this technology with Abu Dhabi. We already have plans with our partners to deploy across both cities entirely. So roughly 50 systems is estimated to cover both Abu Dhabi and Dubai, and that will be rolled out over the next 2 to 3 years.
And each individual system is capable of performing a variety of missions, right?
Correct. Yep. Yeah. Each system is the Optimus drone combined with that Optimus base. And to give you some sense of kind of the scale here, because there's all different sizes of these drone technologies. The Optimus base stands about 8 feet tall and weighs about 5,000 pounds.
How is Abu Dhabi handling drones that fly over buildings and people?
Yeah, that's a great question. When you talk about safely conducting autonomous operations, typically 2 categories of concerns. There's people on the ground and there's air traffic in the sky. So for the first one, this goes back to Airobotics and what they've been able to accomplish over the past 7 years. They've invested over $140 million into this product and tested it year after year after year. And what has resulted is, what we believe to be the most reliable drone-in-a-box system that exists. This system, before it was deployed commercially in Dubai, had to undergo a 6-month testing period where it flew, 10 times a day, every single day. And it passed that. And as a result, we're now able to operate safely in a city environment. The other aspect, as I mentioned, is, avoiding air traffic. We accomplished that through a number of layered safety measures, both operational and technology-wise. But, the short answer is we're operating in a city environment at low altitudes. And so in partnership with these government regulators in the UAE, we've been able to demonstrate that we're not a threat to air traffic in the urban areas.
Do the drones operate in an area similar to where helicopters fly?
It's a good question. I don't know at the top of my head what altitude helicopters operating in the UAE, but, we're typically operating, within the shadow of the buildings as they're, placed around the city, and we respond to various emergencies. So, relatively low. As far as, compared to general aviation traffic, we are low and slow.
Is the system capable of tracking all of the drones? I mean, do you have your own UTM type system that knows where all the drones are at any given moment?
So yes, it's a great comparison. So internally, we know where all of our drone systems are at all times. So you can effectively call it an internal UTM system, which, required to safely operate these systems, but also, relatively straightforward thing to do because these are automated systems that are continuously connected to internet through LTE, high precision RTK GPS, through redundant communication systems. And so the short answer is yes, we know where our systems are at all times.
Are there plans to include any passenger drones or air taxis as part of the project?
Not built by us, not yet. I know lots of folks around the world, including myself, are interested in the air taxi side. For now, Ondas is focusing on manned aerial aircraft, but it would be fun to get into passenger aircraft at some point as well.
A project of this size and scope, what are the major challenges that you foresee?
Well, I think most of the major challenges come before this point. To make this technology work, we have to reach a threshold of reliability and functionality that is incredibly high. And it's been one of the issues in this drone world for a while is I don't think folks really appreciated what that level is. And so, there's a reason why these deployments are starting now, 7 years after the company was founded and, not back in 2019, for example, right? These things just take a lot of time to figure out in terms of, ironing out bugs, getting the appropriate regulatory approvals, thoroughly testing everything, and then demonstrating that to the customer. So we see this as an inflection point. What we see going forward is probably an S-curve style adoption. We're already seeing it with the second city with Abu Dhabi. There are more cities interested in this technology beyond these first two. As that trust builds, we think it's going to get easier and easier to deploy the next set of systems.
What are the key expectations of the project? How will you know if it's successful?
Yeah, I'd say one of the top things is what we call fleet adoption. We're not in the business of selling 1 or 2 units to a customer. We target markets where there's potential for hundreds, if not thousands. And it's also very important for us to get out of that proof of concept phase. That has plagued many companies for many years now. And getting past that is critical. So, I think a lot of what we focus on comes down to those two things. And pairing that with pricing structure and a business model that is profitable. Not all markets for drones are created equal right now. There are some markets that have greater value based on what drones can do today than others. And, it's our job to figure that out, focus our investment on those so we can reach profitability as quickly as possible, especially in today's economic environment.
How did you work through with obtaining the necessary government approvals?
In countries like the UAE, for projects like this, there's always some element of government approval, and that has to be done. But SkyGo is a private entity, and they have approval within Abu Dhabi and other areas in the UAE to operate drones. So that gives us quick access to be able to deploy these systems.
Can you talk about the business model? How do you plan to generate revenue from the project?
Once you can achieve true autonomy, you get a lot more flexibility in the business model that you want to pursue. So we're structuring this with our customers as data as a service. So multiple users will request various services from the Optimus systems and pay accordingly to those services being delivered. So that's recurring revenue. That's from a long-term perspective, that's high margin revenue. And so we start to look a lot more like a software company than a hardware company, which is a really important aspect, we believe, in making sure that this tech can really scale to where we want it to go.
I would imagine that as the system evolves, it'll become a much more seamless experience for the customer, where they just go online, order, and pay for a report, and automatically the Optimus system dispatches a drone to collect and compile the data, then sends a report to the client. From the customer's perspective, it's just another online transaction. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, 100%. The system is designed so if you're a customer, you don't have to know anything about piloting a drone. You don't have to get any sort of Part 107 approval. You don't have to waste your time swapping batteries or any of that. You don't have to worry about analyzing the data. We really try to deliver an end-to-end solution to make that seamless for them.
What have the past 7 years taught you about the drone industry?
That it's not a straight line, but if you persist, good things happen. Not as fast as we'd all like, but this industry has shown me that with dedicated, smart people, eventually things do get done. And I think we're at the most positive point in our industry that we've ever been at. We're finally past that point, even in the United States, where regulations are the big barrier. It was basically our sole focus at American Robotics for 6 years was how do we get this thing approved? Everything we designed, from the technology itself to the ConOps, was getting this system approved. We proved that can happen. It did happen, and now it's getting a lot easier. So we can focus on more interesting things like how do we make this system really great for customers.
Today, is American Robotics fairly close to where you thought it would be? Well, maybe not time-wise, but the plan.
Yeah, I would say yes, everything except the timeline. If you go back to my first pitch deck, everything's pretty similar except how much money it would take and how long it would take. I'm not sure anybody would have invested in us if they actually knew the truth.
What advice would you give to other entrepreneurs?
Well, generally speaking, again, persistence is really key. This is about who can survive the longest, especially when you're talking about very difficult tech like this. Specifically in the drone space, I would say I would caution anybody against going into hardware at this point, unless you're very confident you can raise at least $100 million and put that to work with some exceptionally talented engineers. Instead, if folks are looking to get into the drone space with a new company, focus more on the software analytics that can work with drone platforms like ours. We see a pretty big gap in software analytics products out there, and there's just a world of opportunity. I think the next 10 or 20 years is going to be focused on perfecting all of these different analytics applications with machine learning and AI and computer vision. And we'd certainly love to see more of that out there.
What's next for the project? What should we be looking for in terms of the next key milestones?
It's going to be a phased rollout over the next 2 to 3 years. So if we do our jobs correctly, you'll see periodically more systems being installed in both of these cities until we eventually reach roughly 25 Optimus systems per city. The other thing I would look out for is more cities to adopt this technology. This is just the beginning. We think this is going to catch on in other parts of the world and eventually the United States as well.
When do you think we might see a system here in the United States?
That's a great question. The United States, I think, pretty objectively is probably the most difficult regulatory environment in the world because we have the most complex and busiest airspace. But as I said, things are quite positive these days. Not quite ready to deploy in the U.S. today in urban environments. We can deploy in rural industrial environments. So you'll probably see Optimus adopted on oil and gas fields, for example. But as far as duplicating what we're doing in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, I would look out for that in 2024. The Optimus system is currently in the final stages of type certification, which one of the biggest benefits of that is allowing us to operate over populated areas. So once that's passed, I think it'll be much more feasible to deploy in the U.S.
Reese, is there anything that we missed that we should talk about?
We acquired another company called Iron Drone, which has very innovative counter-drone solution that uses AI to autonomously target hostile, fast-moving drones and then intercepts it with a ballistic net and a parachute, and that lowers it to the ground. So we're doing the first demonstrations. We just announced it at the World Police Summit, and look for us to start marketing that more later this year. But there's a video, go check it out. It's some very cool tech.
Is that something that can be easily integrated into the Optimus system?
Yeah, great question. So we sell it, or we will be selling it as an integrated solution and as a standalone solution. depending on the customer and the needs.
And for my final question, Reese, what message would you like to leave regarding the future of the drone industry?
I would say, again, this year and last year are really important inflection points in the history of the commercial drone space. I think the next decade or two is going to be defined by commercial and industrial drones. And so, I think with these sets of technologies, we're going to help take this from what some estimate is probably $1 billion market today to what it can be, which is over $100 billion market.
That's it for episode 392 of the Drone Radio Show. I hope you enjoyed hearing from Reese Mozer of Ondas Holdings and American Robotics. I want to thank Reese for taking the time to speak with me. If you want to learn more about American Robotics or want to connect with Reese, check out the webpage at american-robotics.com. If you like the Drone Radio Show, please consider supporting the podcast with a small donation. The content is always free, but for as little as $1, you can help defray the cost of production. To donate, go to droneradioshow.com/donate. And thanks for listening. Your support means a lot to me, and I hope you'll listen to more episodes of the Drone Radio Show podcast to hear how others are using drones for business, fun, and research. For the Drone Radio Show, I'm Randy Goers.
This has been the Drone Radio Show podcast. More information on today's show can be found on our website at www.droneradioshow.com. If you're using drone technology for business, fun, or research and would like to share your experience on the show, please visit our website and fill out a guest appearance application. And don't forget to follow us on your favorite social media channels.